Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 398 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff. I'm going to be doing it live. Let's get started. Why wait? Let's go. I'll start by sharing my screen. Hey, guess what? It's April 16th. 2025, episode 398. We're so close to 400. That's so exciting. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what's going to go on today. I think I know what I want to do or what I want to focus on, but how I go about doing it, I haven't really done much planning, at least outside of what you've already seen on the screen. What maybe from previous episodes, I'm trying to do things such that you see the entire process of some of my work, of whatever it is that I'm working on from start to finish during the stream. So if there's any planning, it's been done in the prior episodes. Specifically, what we're going to be working on today, I think was planned out in episode 396. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, or if you're curious to know where this plan came from, go check out episode 396. Hey, what else? The agenda. There's an agenda. I'm looking at it right now. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, check out the link over here in the details section for the agenda. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the video description. If you're watching this on Twitch, check out the channel details. And yeah, as I update the agenda, maybe I add some things. You'll see this little spinny spin, and if you reload the agenda, it should be up to date. What else is there to say about the preamble? Oh, of course, there is an episode guide. In fact, I think we're a little bit behind on updating the episode guide, and maybe we should do that. Updating the episode guide. So let's take a look at the episode guide, and I believe we've got some SmurfD pull requests waiting for review. So this is the episode guide. Let's go to GitHub. Yeah, we're behind. We haven't even done any of the ones in 2025 yet. We've got 7 pull requests here, adding a bunch of episodes from SmurfD. We should get those merged in. So let's just try and get those in as soon as we possibly can. We'll start with this one here for episodes 381 to 385. So this is not the way I'd normally review code. If you've never seen me do this before, for code, I'm usually a lot more thorough. But for text like this, where we're just adding items to the episode guide, I'm pretty relaxed. And you yourself, if you're watching this, you can also contribute to the episode guide. You can send pull requests to this repository if you've got your own notes, addenda, corrections, you want to expand on something I talked about. Feel free to send me a pull request. I'm pretty relaxed about what I'll accept. So let's. What I'd like to do is make sure that the dates and the episode number line up. So it's episode 381. Was that? Oh, wow, we are way behind. Yeah, October 30th, that's correct, 2024. The links look right, 381. And I did a spooky episode. And I did it at a spooky alternative time. I don't remember that. Maybe I tried shifting the time of the episode. I'm seeing some chatter. SmurfD is crossing fingers for the merge. Oh, trust me, I'll be merging these. Akra says, what, you're not rewatching episodes before accepting PRs? No, I don't think I've ever rewatched a full episode, except there was one case where I think on an anniversary, on like episode 250, or maybe it was 200, or maybe it was 150, I watched like an old episode. It was like an episode Inception, and I did a rewatch. I have a hard time watching myself do stuff. Anyways, so it was a spooky episode. There was the 20th anniversary celebration for Firefox, and I talked about wireframes and tab groups, which have started to trickle out to release. If you're on the release channel, you may have noticed that you can use tab groups now. And, enjoy. More tab groups goodness is coming. I talked about Thunderbird for Android. And we started, I think, our journey for documenting customizable UI around here, which is hilarious because that took forever. Then that looks good. November 6th, 382. What else we do? November 6th, 382, 2024. We started talking about profile management in Nightly. Guess what? That's also going to be going out soon. I think we're starting to do a very slow, careful trickle out to the release channel on that over the next couple of weeks. That's to add the profiles item here so that you can do easy profile switching. We're being very, very cautious with this. This is not the sort of thing that you like casually throw over the fence into the release channel, because profile data, that's where all user stuff is. That's where your bookmarks and history and all that sort of stuff is. So when we change how it works, we need to be really sure it works properly. So we're being very cautious. You know, it's gotten the QA sign off, but we're being very cautious. And we're just starting to trickle it out there. We definitely do not want to YOLO with user profiles. That would be a bad idea. But it's on by default in Nightly right now, and I think it's almost on for everybody in beta. And so far, everything's looking good. Yeah, let's move on. In November 13th, that was episode 383, Correctamundo, and those all look right. We just kept going with documentation. Amazing. For episode 384 on November 20th, yeah, that looks right. We kept documenting. That is the name of the game. I think we kept documenting for weeks and weeks and weeks. November 27th, episode 385. These links look right. And then there was some Q&A in there. Just a reminder, there's a link in the agenda for asking me questions. You can always ask me questions. I can try to answer them about the code base or about Mozilla or open source or Firefox. This is great. Thank you very much. Thanks. Looks great. Always thank your contributors. So that's been merged in. I'm going to try and do the rest of these as well. 386 to 391. If you're wondering why I'm not so worried about any of these Dependabot things, it's because none of this stuff is exposed. Like the website is a static website. Maybe I'll merge these in at some point, but all of the utility, I'm not super worried. Maybe I'll merge those in someday, but I'm not worried about the Dependabot updates. YOLO plus backups. That is true. I mean, so the mechanism that we worked on in 2024, the backup mechanism, does need to be updated to use the new profile mechanism, but that may be an interesting technique that we end up using for, especially for updates. Something I've talked to some of the engineers working on profiles and the updater is we may investigate using that as a way of taking a snapshot of the profile before an upgrade, so that in the event that something goes horribly wrong during the upgrade, there's an easier way to roll back. That is something that we've considered. It is, somewhat performance intensive, but I mean, an update is already pretty performance intensive. There's a lot of disk writing anyways. So maybe it's something we'll look into. Okay, episode 386, that was on December 4th. Correct. 386, did I make a joke about... I probably made a joke about computers. The 386 is probably one of my memories of, my first computer where I could, play games with a mouse. It was a 386. I think we had Windows 3.1. It wasn't even my computer. It was a friend's computer, but that's what I remember, is playing on a 386 with a mouse and being completely jazzed about a mouse. More documentation. If you're curious if I made a joke, I don't know. I'm guessing I probably made a joke. Feel free to rewatch that episode. December 11th, episode 387. That looks right. Yes, I talked about holiday schedule. We kept going with documentation. December 18th, episode 388. That looks right. Yes, it was a special holiday episode. It was my last episode before the holidays, and we went and started looking at a point-and-click adventure game engine, an open source one. Okra says, as someone who uses profiles, I hope nothing will go horribly wrong. So one of the things to note, Okris, is that the new profile mechanism borrows much of the infrastructure of the historic and existing profile mechanism, but they're not exactly one-to-one. Meaning that when we roll this out, the existing what we call old school top level epic profiles that you've been using should still work, but they will not be listed inside of the selectable profiles set. So your existing mechanisms will still continue to work. but we still need to figure out sort of a migration path for people who were using the old profile mechanism to the new one. But the old one will continue to work. It's just they won't be listed inside of the profiles list. That's the thing to note. That's part of, like, I would imagine the comms that are going to start to go out about this. Now, one of the good things about that, though, is that the vast majority of users were not using profiles, the old school profile mechanism. It's just like some old timers, people who've like probably used Nightly or are familiar with using like command line flags. These are the people who are using profiles, or the people who were unlucky enough to visit about profiles. Okay, so that was December 18th. We reviewed these things. And then, did I do any customized mode documentation? I doubt it. I think I probably spent most of my time reviewing this open source point-and-click adventure game engine. And maybe I plugged some other stuff. January 8th, that was the first episode of the new year, 389. And we kept working on customized mode documentation. And we just kept plugging away. At that point, we had finished documenting customized mode.sys.mjs. That was very nice. January 15th, episode 390. That was, we started to document customizable UI .sys.mjs, the customizable UI internal object inside of there. And we started tinkering a little bit with TypeScript, the TypeScript compiler, to see whether or not it would complain about strong typing violations. And it did, and that was very exciting. And then January 22nd, episode 391. Yes. Talked more about profiles and pointed people to the right metabug if you find issues with them. And we kept documenting. I love it. This is all great. I'm going to go ahead and approve. That's very decorative. That's not doing the merge, but I'll do the merge now. And I'm going to say, thank you. Thanks. Outstanding work as usual, Smurf D. And then the last one, and then we can get on to the work I had hoped we'd do today on the Rust stuff. So sorry if you join the stream being like, hey, I want to see a Rust newbie write Rust. We'll get there. You just have to be patient. We have to get these merges done. January 29th, that was episode 392. That's correct. And then I talked. It looks like I was plugging vertical tabs. And we kept documenting customizable UI. And then I started to try and solicit ideas for the 400th episode. And I'm still open to ideas. Neurator asks, does Firefox only have Vanilla.js or is there TypeScript used? I think we use Vanilla.js. We use ES6 style JS, but we use the TypeScript compiler. We're starting to use the TypeScript compiler to do type checking on our JavaScript, not on TypeScript, but on our JavaScript, which uses JSDoc to declare types for various things. And so we can start getting some of the advantages of TypeScript, the strong typing, in our JavaScript, which is nice. But there are no plans. I don't believe there's any TypeScript in the Firefox code base. I could be wrong about that, but I'm fairly certain. And but there are teams, especially I think the search team is really investing in this right now. And they're kind of like leading the charge in using, along with like some heroic people on the web extensions team, a colleague of mine named Tomislav, are like going down this path of getting it so that we can use the TypeScript compiler to check our JavaScript for type violations. Okay, February 5th, episode 393, correct. And we kept documenting, and I talked about Firefox 135 going out the door. Oh, how time flies. February 19th, episode 394. That looks right. And I must have skipped an episode. My bad. And then I answered a question about Orbit and the Orbit project. March 12th. March 12th? January, February. March 12th. Yeah, March 12th. So we were into March 12th. Episode 395. Wow, we jumped into it. We're into March now. Last month. I talked about smart tab groups, and I followed up on some Orbit questions. This looks a little bit broken, actually, right here. So I'm going to fix this. So these. So I'm, you know, sometimes I fix things. Fix some bullet things. Bullet formatting. Okay. And then episode 319, that was March 19th, 396. Yeah. And I talked about custom wallpapers. Yeah, custom wallpapers, those are starting to come out too on the new tab page. That's very exciting. Talked about how to make your Git autocomplete faster. And this is where I did a bunch of planning for the Rust component that we're going to be working on today. So if you're curious, again, check out episode 396 for everything we talked about there. Because after that episode, the 397 episode, which was last week, or not last week, it was 2 weeks ago on March 25th, I started to get my feet wet with jujitsu, and I've really been enjoying it. I wouldn't say I'm like proficient, but certainly I'm very excited to use jujitsu. This link looks broken. That looks wrong. Is that right? Yeah, it's broken. Hal M. Conley uses that. It's missing its underscores, so we need to fix this. So I'll go ahead and edit this as well. Whoops. See, every now and then I find a bug. Fix broken link. And other than that, I think that looks great. So we'll go ahead and approve, and we'll merge, and that should bring us more or less up to date on the episode guide. Thanks. Always thank your committer. Always thank your contributor. So once again, thanks so much, SmurfD, doing the heroes work there. Okay, so what are we doing today? So again, I highly recommend. I don't want to spend too much time re-explaining what we're focusing on. I'm hoping we can just kind of dig right into it. But if you're curious, just check out episode 396, where I kind of lay out what we're working on and why. And today I'm hoping we can actually attack it a little bit. So the first thing I want to do is actually get to my, where am I? Where am I in my source code? I've got, I think I've got a fresh pull of Central today. So that's good. And I'm actually on a blank change set on top of it, so that's nice. Oh, but that doesn't matter, because where I'm working isn't in Mozilla Central. I want to be working in the application services project. So if you're curious, that's this repository. This is where we have our shared components between desktop and Firefox for Android and Firefox for iOS. They go into application services on GitHub. I've gone ahead and updated the agenda if you want to follow along. Did I initialize? Okay, I did not initialize this repository as with Jujitsu. I'll go ahead and do that now. And then it wants... Ooh, this one has a submodule. I wonder how that'll go. The following remote bookmarks are associated with the existing local bookmarks main origin. Run JJ bookmark track main origin to keep local bookmarks updated on future pulls. Yeah, why not? And then JJ get fetch. Let's go ahead and well, first of all, what do we have? Did I end up? Yeah, I set up a branch here. So what do I want to do here? Let's JJ get fetch. So we're gonna pull in the latest stuff. And I'm on the filter adult branch. I'm going to now rebase filter. Oh boy. Oh boy. Filter adult appears to be on the wrong git log. Whoa. Where are my changes? March 18th. Did I have uncommitted? I have uncommitted changes. That's what's up. That's what's up. So I never committed those changes. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to JJ describe what I'm working on as add filter adult module. And let's keep going. So I think there was something else I had needed to do. I needed like something in my shell to get NSS to build properly. It was like really annoying. I am going to... Oh, and then it wants me to do like all this submodule update stuff. I don't know how that's going to work. Let's try this out. Make sure that there's nothing to update there. Okay, and then cargo test is... We do the builds. Do I have all of the NSS stuff? Let's hope. Okay. Now, as I recall, there was a bunch of stuff that was failing. There was a little bit of stuff that was unrelated that was failing last time I ran cargo test. And I don't know if that's just my system or if, like, I don't know what the CI story is with application services. That's something I'm going to have to figure out. But at the time, I remember it being an issue. I'm very pleased so far to see a bunch of green OKs. We're going to let those run. In the meantime, here's the plan. So we've got these existing strings inside of filter adult. These existing base 64 strings that are MD5 hashes of base domains. We want to convert these. We want a tool basically to convert this set into the byte representation, sort of a more efficient byte representation inside of a file that can be imported into our Rust library. And so there's going to... oh, and here's our... yeah, this is the stuff that was failing before, I'm pretty sure. And I don't know what to do about that. That's I didn't work on... I'm not working on remote settings, so I don't know why that's failing. Maybe I've something wrong with my local build. But we've been able to build. Cargo build works. Like, we got everything. Let us now worry about writing that tool. And what was... Write a tool that can take a list of base64 encoded MD5 hashes and produce an RS file that has those hashes defined as raw bytes and can be linked into the library. Right. Because we want to be able to sort of like... we don't want to have to hand convert each one of these things. And we also want to make it easier in the future for people to update the list. So we're going to... Let's create our tool. I have to think though, like what do we want to do here? We want to also make it possible for the tool to merely accept additions or to overwrite, because, you know, oh yeah. So like there's like a one-time tool that we need. This is not going to happen often, this base64 thing. But then afterwards, if we want to make it possible for people to update the list, the adult website list, we'll also accept a list of base domain strings rather than a base64 encoded MD5 hashes so that we can easily update the list. Make it possible for the tool to merely accept additions or to fully overwrite. Yes. That's what we're going to work on today, is this sort of like sub-tool. And we had looked at... this example, the generate test data utility, can use relevancy components' generate test data utility. So that was an example I was looking at. I'm having to like re-remember everything. Smurfy says also remove items from the list. I guess. Maybe removals too? What I'm expecting is there to be like a static list of like, here's the adult websites. The only reason why we'd ever want to just do additions is if, well, because like reversing this is annoying to do. Reversing this list. That's intentional, I think. I mean, it's possible. It's just MD5, but it's just annoying. But at least this opens the door where we could like refresh the whole thing. Well, yeah, let me think about that. For now, though, let's work on the part that's going to take the existing list and just port it. So I had talked about this file, generate test data. That's a where's the source? Is there a like, yeah, this is the source under relevancy. There's like this source bin script. So we're gonna create one for our own. Filter adult source bin. We're gonna create a bin, and we're gonna call this code import adult sites list.rs, or maybe just import site list. Nice and short. Okay. Now I don't know how to write Rust. Naruto says, didn't I give you a code snippet that did that? I think you did. Let me scroll up through the chat. Let's see here. Naruto MD5 returns bytes. You did give me a snippet. I think you linked, yeah. So Naruto started playing with this. So this is nice. This is our way of taking these hashes that we're going to pull from filteradult.sys.mjs and converting them into the byte hashes. So that's great. So we can reuse some of what Naruto wrote, I think. So let's do that. Now, again, a reminder, I'm new at Rust. I don't know what I'm doing. I've like written it long time ago. I think I was doing Advent of Code. It was during this stream probably that I last wrote Rust. And it was probably like years and years and years ago, pre-2020, pre-pandemic. So it's been a while, but it looks like I need a function main. So let's do that. Let's add a function main. Let's see what happens if I just say like, hello world. Let's just do our hello world. Will that be enough? And then do I need to add this to some kind of build manifest? If I do git grep generate test data, it looks like it's inside of the cargo toml file. So I'm gonna go to code, components, filter adult, cargo toml. Let's also take a look at the relevancy one, components relevancy, cargo toml. And it looks like generate test data. So there's just this rule that's like bin. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. What do I do under dependencies? Can I just have an empty section? Looks like it. So I'll just accept that, and then instead of calling it generate test data, we'll call it import site list. So let's see if I do cargo build, what happens. That seems unusually fast. I was expecting more. Do I have to do more? Maybe I have to go into like components filtered. Do I have to do cargo build in here? There we go. That's more like it. Okay, filter adult. So now if we, where's the build artifacts? Is it somewhere over here? Target, debug, find name import site list. Oh, target debug. There it is. Import site list. Hello world. Okay, so we've got our build. We have this thing. Now we can start doing some file manipulation. So we want to make it so that we can show easily that we took the sys.mjs file and then we just extracted these parts. So maybe what we can do is have it accept this like one-time import. You should be able to just cargo run as well, says SmurfD. Cargo run, like with what? With arguments? Cargo run. The name of the bin target to run. So cargo run import site list. Cargo run -- bin import site list. What you talking about? No args. Cargo run. Oh, you know what? I'll bet you. I think I know what you're talking about. Fluent filter adult cargo run. Yeah, there we go. Now, what's going to happen whenever I have like if I have multiple? Well, I guess this is the only executable one that will exist. Okay. Well, let's start with how does one accept arguments? This is something I do not know. I know how to print. In Python, I'd use something called argparse. I don't know what we do. What's the state of the art for accepting arguments in Rust? What's the equivalent of Rust argparse? Simple argument. Is there like a built-in one? What's the state of the art? I'm new to Rust. Struct opt. Clap. Type CLI. Jeez. Clap. Command line argument parser for Rust. So, like, I don't know if there's one that's built in. I think I remember reading a blog post from a colleague that was like, Rust crate called clap. Everyone's saying clap. I know what you mean. Rust, there was this blog post I saw. Rust command line tools Python. I think I saw build a with Rust. Yeah. All right, they're using clap. Why not? Let's use clap. Also, I presume, is it already used in application services? If I look for clap, is it already being used? Clap. Yeah, looks like it. Okay. So let's go ahead and add clap. Crate cargo install clap. Is that how it works? Rust add crate. How do I install crates? To use add it to the dependencies. To install a binary crate, to install a local binary crate, add to the dependencies. The library is downloaded and compiled when you build a project that depends on it. Okay. So if I go to, I'm going to close the relevancy one here, and under dependencies, I'm going to go clap. Now, what else uses clap? Git grep clap. 2.34. Is that the most recent one? Rust clap. 2.34. How do I find out which version is available? Where's the website for this? Help, summary, cookbook, fact, discussions. Cargo add clap. I could just do that. Features derive. What does that mean? Cargo add help. Features. Features. Space or comma separated list of features to activate. Derive. Oh, so I presumably that's to make it so you get some sugar. You get some sugar. Okay. Why not? Why not? Let's do it. Cargo add. I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna get rid of this. Undo. I'm just gonna go cargo add clap features derive. Someone said that the version's in the top left. 4.536. And what's the one did I just install? 4536. And what's the other one? 234. Woo! And this one's using like an even older ones. Oh well, these are independent projects. That's fine. That's got to be okay. Surely someone will mention if I'm doing this wrong. Git grep. Does anyone else use derive? No. Well, someone will review me and tell me I'm doing it wrong. Okay, so then define your CLI in main.rs. So this is not my main. This is my file. It's not main.rs, but that's okay. And there's a clap parser. Okay, simple program to greet a person. So you take a struct, you create a struct, name of the person to greet. These are presumably arguments that we can accept, and then this is how we describe types, I guess. And then for command version about long about none. Holy cow. Okay, I see. Wow, cool. Args parse. Okay. Long about none command version about. Okay. How do I say what version we are? Version about. Well, let's just try this. Let's see what happens if I just add this. I'm just gonna add it. And let's build. Cargo build. Cargo run. So it's expecting a name. That's very nice. Name test. Oh. Hello world. So great. We figured out how to add a required value. I think what I want are like option switches. Let's think about the interface of this thing, this tool that we're adding. So like ideally, I could do like import site list, and then it will accept like the from MJS if it accept, and then path. That's one, and that's going to be like this one-time only thing. From filter adult MJS. And then in the future, we might do things like this. Site list dash dash from equals path. Import site list. And then we could do like add import site list. Maybe we go like add equals this. Or we could go remove. And then replace. In the future. That might be interesting. I mean, that's not even a thing that we necessarily need to do right now. That's something that could be added in the future if we ever want to make it easier to update this thing. But for now, this is the most important part. So one of these things is required, but like how do we say that like we just need one of them? How do we say that we just need one of them? Cookbook. Useful parse performance, resilient maintainship, semver. Let's look at the reference. Possible value attributes. When not present, help. Required argument. Requires a certain number of occurrences. Maybe, I mean, maybe the interface that I've designed here isn't really conducive to clap. Basically, what I have here is a switch between different mechanisms, and then they all accept a path. Maybe what I really need is like, yeah, one of method name required if equal out file global true raw attributes for Rust clap rule derive argument must be one of. I specify at least one argument must be present. You can read about argument relations. So required true. Require an argument from a group to be present when parsing. That's great. So command new myprog arg flag. Oh. That's not via derive. Maybe that's okay. Flag. Maybe we don't need derive then. So what happens is we say, hey, here's a flag. And the required flags are flag and color. Now, is that an and or is that an or? Vice setting multiple true, which states at least one arg from this group must be used. And using multiple is okay. How do I say that? Only and one arg. Oh yeah, only and one arg. By default, arg group multiple is set to false, which when combined with arg group required states one and only one arg must be used from this group. Use of more than one arg is an error. That sounds right. So can I do that with derive? Can I clap derive arg group. Clap derive arg group. Arg group with clap derive. Help. Help. So there's apparently a derive tutorial. Maybe I should be reading that. Let's go back. Clap. 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 Derive tutorial. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's quickly read this. Ugh. Okay. You can create an application declaratively with a struct and some attributes. Cool. Okay, so you just use a structure and these macros or these defines. These aren't macros, they're defines. And the compiler knows what to do. That's great. Now, how do you do groups? You can drive parser, start building a parser. I don't think I want to. Is there anything in here about groups? You can declare dependencies or conflicts between args or even arg groups. Arg group makes it easier to declare relations instead of now having to list each individually. Require one and only one argument to be present out of a given set. Yes, that is exactly what we want. Okay, so this looks relevant. Arg groups are automatically created for a struct, with its arg group ID being the struct's name. So here's the required is true, multiple false. Here's the group, and we derive args. So we derive args. So this is the thing that we're switching between. And this is the CLI. distance. Command flatten some regular input. But I think this is the structure that we want. Setver was using set version manually. But all right, I like this. So I think I can work with this. We're gonna use clap args and parser. We're gonna get both out. We are going to, yeah, I'm just gonna take this as our starting point. But we're going to some regular input group equals input file. I like that. And then verse. And then instead of verse, this is action. Then the file, the input file. And then set version manually. Ver, no. Auto inc major, arg long, major, minor, bool. I don't think that's what I want. I want like, so action. And the action is going to be one of from filter adult MJS. So what's the example usage? Major, minor, patch. So I guess these are where the commit where it's being derived from. I don't know how like it's gonna like my my spacing. Oh, spec in. What happened with spec in? Spec in. So it converts underscores. Okay. Okay. I see. It converts underscores into dashes automatically for me. And we want to use from filter adult MJS. So we're going to say from underscore filter adult MJS, and that is a bool as opposed to an arg long. It's a bool. Why long? Arg long. It's Boolean. It's a Boolean type. All right, increment. If match is major, minor, or patch. If true, true, or true, patch. Okay, that's neat. Neat. I see what you're doing there. I don't know why it's long. Arg long. Maybe that's describing itself. I don't know. But I'm just going to do that. And then I'll add the other ones as well. So it was add and replace. Add, replace, add, remove, replace. Or maybe it should be overwrite. Maybe that's clearer. So what is it going to make of that? Cargo build. Does not like it. Expected a type and it found a trait. And that was here whenever I was attempting to parse. Oh, I see. So the form of this has changed somewhat because of how I'm doing this and because I changed this to be called CLI. Yeah, that's what happened. CLI. And what they, yeah, CLI parse. Okay, I'll call mine CLI too. Okay, and now doesn't understand what name is, but it could understand from filter adult MJS foobarbaz.mjs. Hello world. Okay, so that feels pretty good. So now let's check to see how would I do this in Python. What I would normally do is I would check to see if this value is true, and if so, I would branch out into a separate function. except that all of these are going to want to open up a file and read from it. So maybe the first thing I would do is actually take the path, the input file, and get read access and actually read the contents into a string. And then decide what to do. So how does Rust do file IO? File IO, Rust by example. I want to reading lines from a file. Reduce intermediate allocations, that's a good idea. I don't want to read individual lines, I want to read the whole thing. File IO. I just want to read it into a single buffer. So we create a path. And then we open that path. We create a string, a mutable string, and then we read the file into the string. Okay. Okay, that seems reasonable. So, let path equal, well, how do I need to get the path out of the args. How did they do that here? Input file. CLI.input file as dref. String. Input. So CLI spec in. Holy cow. Okay. What it's saying is check for usage of -c. That's the configuration. Okay. If we see as dref, okay, then we will read it. We're doing work using input and config. Config. Let's see. And config is config.toml. Derive major spec in input text. Spec in as dref. Okay, well, spec in special input argument. I think -c, what does that mean? In the event that input file, if some config is here, it looks like it's automatically doing shortening of that to the single character. And what do you pass to it? -c, you then supply some file to it, and then we get the input file, which is different from -c. That's input file. Input file. Input is input or config. And config. So -c, then input file is, and then spec in. You either get that or unwrap or else. So if this wasn't supplied, then we'll also, oh boy, we'll get spec in. This is very complicated for me. There's a lot of conditions being sort of dealt with in there. I don't think we need anything nearly as complicated. I just need to see whether or not input file was provided. CLI.input file as dref. Oh, and I just got a T delivery. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the T delivery. As dref. Now this is required. It had to have been brought in. I should make sure that that's true, that it's required. Group input requires equals input. Is that how you say that? That it needs to be included? Requires input, group input. Required. The following required arguments were not provided. Either the input file or spec in. Requires input. Requires input. Oh, I see. So it needs one of these. How do I say that? Oh, required equals true. Is that enough if I just say that? I don't even need group input. I just need to say required equals true. Will you accept that? And then print. Let's see if we can get it to print out. This is the path you provided. I'm really new at Rust, so just go easy on me. Path. And then semicolon, because semicolons. Cannot compile. So option stir cannot be formatted with the default formatter. Option stir. Do I have to unwrap it? ASDRef unwrap? Method, not a field. Oh, whoops. Okay. Okay. And if I don't supply it, I need it. Then that seems right. Unwrap will crash if the option is empty. Since the arg is required, I'm not sure why you get an option. Yeah, good question. I mean, that would be very weird. Like, I'm pretty sure the CLI will enforce that the adult MJS, if I supply nothing, it'll, like, I guess it will enforce it. Unwrap or else. Is there like unwrap or panic? I mean, I guess it'll crash. We previously showed that arguments can be required or optional. When optional, you work with an option and can unwrap or. But it's not optional. So maybe I can just access it directly. Is that true? Whoops. Input file, unwrap. What happens if I just access it like this? It doesn't like it because it's an option. What does it mean to ASDRef? ASDRef. What is that? Rust ASDRef. Dereferencing? What's the difference between object ASRef? Option string. This part of a string is not stored in the heap allocated string. Rather than a string or an option string. Or option string returned by ASRef, you can call ASRef. Oh, boy, a shorthand for that called on option string, it will return option slice of string. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little awkward. The fact that I can go ahead. Can I just assume that I can just I'm not gonna crash because it was required, I guess? Like, it seems a bit strange that I have to do an unwrap here, but okay. Maybe I'll ask. Clap required option. Still returning option. returning. Clap Rust. Y option for required. Is there anything here about like just required? Require an object from the argument from the group to be present when parsing. Setting applies to the current command by default, set to false. Because we didn't use any of the strings in the group, it's an error. I mean, am I getting that for free with parse? Parse? Exit on error. Yeah. Yeah, what do you got for me? CLI cannot be formatted that way. Okay. Too bad. Do I have to do some kind of... Oh. Derive, parser, and debug. Derive. Debug. Now will you like it? Okay. Okay, so we just, yeah, it's just it's an option. I gotta unwrap it. So I'm gonna just assume that that's fine. So now that we've got our path, let's open the file and read it in. So path. And presumably file. Sarah, let's put that in alphabetical order, and maybe because this is the standard library. Okay. Create a path to the desired file. So let path equal. Now will path new accept an option? Path. Rust standard path. Path new. No, it takes a string. Yields a string slice of path is valid Unicode. These all return these things. They don't accept options. Okay, so what I'll do then is path new, path, feels weird, but will that build? Seems okay. And then let display equals path display. What do you do with display? Okay, that's just a way. What is display? Display turns an object that implements display for safely printing paths that contain non-Unicode data. Okay. Opening. Right. Okay. Whoops. And now we will, so we've got our path. And then there's this like matcher. We're gonna match. Open the path in read-only mode. Returns IO result file. Okay. So we open the path. Couldn't open. And it includes a Y. Otherwise, we get the file. Great. And then, do we have to? There's no. Is this like? Presumably, if I go out of scope, there's no like manual, like the process will exit, the file handle will close. Great. So let's build. Nerator says, it seems like you can maybe make the type a path buff and let clap parse do the conversion. Oh, that's interesting. Clap path buff. So that's a custom config. Oh yeah, path buff. And then what does config give us? Config. That'll just give us the path, presumably. Yeah, okay, that's nice. All right, so instead of it input, we're gonna have it be a path buff. Nice. So presumably I have to use that. Let's actually do this for now. Let's see if that accepts. It does not compile. Use of undeclared type. Whoa, yeah, of course. Well, I don't actually need to do that part anymore. I can just do unwrap. I don't have to construct it, I think. Okay. Great. Nice. Okay, next we're gonna uncomment this part out. And it doesn't like it because it doesn't know what I mean by display. Ah. Maybe that's what I should say. And now, couldn't open ASDF. ADFS, no such file or directory. Amazing. That's exactly what I want. Now, what if I supplied a real file? Like, I don't know, Mozilla Unified Browser extensions, new tab, lib, filter adult. Or where is filter adult? Browser modules. Okay. Browser modules. Great. It was able to open it. Now let's read the contents into our string buffer. Read the contents into a string. Let mute file contents equals such and such. We're going to read to string. Now, I'm saying this now, but like read lines, we might want to do that if we're accepting like individual lines for the other modes for adding or removing. Excuse me. We also have to think about just thinking here. We also have to think about, yeah, pardon me. Like if we're accepting with the other modes here, just like lines of a file, just lines of domains, we might want something like this for that. This like read lines mechanism. It seems strange that that would not be built in. But okay. This might be reasonable first attempt for a beginner's first implementation for reading lines from a file. Since the method lines turns an iterator, we can also perform a map inline and collect the results, yielding a more concise and fluent expression. Note that in both examples above, we must convert the string reference returned from lines to the owned type string using toString. Here we pass ownership of the open file to a buff reader struct. Uses an internal buffer to reduce intermediate allocation. I mean, this doesn't need. Yes, more efficient, harder to reason about, I think. I'm going to go with this naive approach, I think. So we're going to read the contents in for now. Read to string. Read to string. Which is what we do here anyways. And then S. Where's S come from? Oh, read to string, then we pass the string to read it to. Let file read to string mute file contents. I guess. Display, opening, display. Display. Let's see what that does. Norator says, I think the book didn't get updated since standard file system read to string was introduced. Oh, okay. No method named read to string found for struct file. Method for what? On scope, perhaps you want to import it. Oh. Read to end with a similar name. Is that what I need to do? Is that? That seems strange that I'd need to do that, but okay. Is that what you want from me? Why, yes it is! That is what you want from me. Okay, great. So now we've read in all that stuff. And I don't want to print it out. I just want it to be assigned. Okay, file. So I just okay. I don't let mute file equals maybe string. Maybe Rust is smart enough to know what I mean here. Okay. File contents. File contents. Is Rust smart enough to know what I mean? No. Read to string. Oh, because read to string takes the. Oh, right. Oh, there's. Read to string. Which one am I using? File read to string. Why did you do that just now? Read to string function versus read to string method. Returns number of bytes. When calling read to string method on file, you need a mute for reading the file to the string. Versus public function read to string takes a reader. IO read to string, so you take some input. Right. Not for file, I guess. File system read to string, you take. Oh, wow. Why don't we just use this? That seems easier. Yeah, standard FS read to string. Oh boy. Yeah, okay. Let's do that. So standard FS. We're gonna bring in the file system stuff. And let file contents equal this stuff, path. Do I have to? Let's see what that does. And then can I print line file contents? Can I use question mark in a function that returns? What? Since 126. Path. It's not implemented. Whenever you take. Oh, right. This has less to do with what I'm calling here and more the fact that function main needs to return a result. Okay. Right. So this question mark is like some special Rustism that's like, hey, here's a special thing to do in the event that something goes wrong. And I think that's what I want to do. Great. And then if you can't find it, error. No, like, that's not great. Read to string. What's a better way of doing that? Let's see. Read to string. Let's see other people doing this. Expect. That's how you do it. Expect. Read. Can I put formatting in there? X key. With context, format while reading. So I expect format unable to read display. Is that? Then I don't think I need this stuff anymore. Is that true? No. Expect found string. Expect. Format. I have to give it a slice, I guess. Okay. Expect format. Okay. Unable to read. That's better, I guess. Okay, I'm willing to accept that for now. So we have our file contents, and now I want to know if what time is it? 2:22. I'm going to be wrapping up in just a second here. In the event print line entered filter adult I'm just code path. I'm just doing some like flow control testing here. Else entered other code path. I just want to make sure that this works. No. It wants if condition unused. Is that what it expects? Dot action? Oh, maybe as deref. No. Unnecessary parentheses, that's a warning. And then no field filter adult on type CLI. So how, How do I get it? How did this example do it? CLI.debug. CLI dot from filter.mjs, right? How do I Rust debug crate? What's the yeah, Rust debug trait format. Yeah. Print line. Here we go. Format the origin. I'm just gonna format. Does that make any sense? I'm just hammering stuff together here. Not a function. Right, it's a macro. Cannot be formatted with the default formatter. What was the thing that we used before to like what was it? There was a way of printing out what it looked like. The structure. What was it? We had it. See, oh, just print line. Ugh, okay. Oh boy, did I lose all of it? Ha 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 ha! Oh wow. Where is my redo history? Holy cow, everybody. All right, we're gonna call it here. Okay, the good news is, so I undid way back in the past to see how I did a thing, and I think I've lost my forward redo history for some reason. Like, VS Code is not adding anything anymore. Like, I don't know why, but I hadn't saved. I don't think. Like, what if I revert? Can I revert? Hey, okay, good. Hey, whoo, good stuff. Let's go ahead and JJ log, or JJ, just run any JJ command. So that stuff got added to the, oh, I was a little worried there for a second. Okay, so print line, then there's like this obscure invocation. Right? Does that make any sense to you, Rust? I also saw a hash in there. What is this? Clap. Does it know what I mean by this? No. It's expecting dot action. All right, fine. Is that? And it doesn't know what I mean by this. So then, true. Okay, fine. Whatever. So we're gonna filter action that. Then we expect to enter the filter adult code path. Otherwise, if it's like add, So if we're adding or removing, we need to read in the old byte strings. Is that true? That we're going to want to read those in? That seems annoying. We might just want to... I don't know if we want add or remove. Yes, that's easier, but that means we're going to have to be able to read in the byte strings. The byte hashes. And parse them. Well, maybe that's not so bad because we'll just be importing the file that we had exported. So you'd have to like import and link to the Rust file that we generate, and that would so that the static byte hashes would be built in. Okay, so maybe that works. Let's work on that next week. But for now, I think we've got something that does the job at least of reading in this file. But there's some to-dos here. So what do we get done? For next time. Make it... So there's a bootstrapping problem here. Read in the MJS file, strip out what we don't need, and then convert each string into the byte value to generate the byte representation to generate the Rust file that we need. And then we need to import that Rust file into import site list. It's like a bootstrapping thing that we need to do. Okay, we'll do that next week. Hey, thanks for watching episode 398 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. I sure felt like a beginner, but that's okay. Sometimes it's good to be a beginner. And I'm like hitting all these, I'm like learning a lot. Clap seems really nice. That's a nice interface. It seems like there have been multiple ways of doing file manipulation, and sugar's been added, and FS read to strings seems like a really good idea. You know, I am a little curious about why for a required argument we get an option back rather than just the straight up string. Whatever. I guess belt and suspenders. But hey, we're making progress, and next week I'm fairly confident we'll be able to generate that Rust file and get it imported, and then maybe we can quickly add and remove and replace some of these other things, and then figure out how to write some tests for this. Yeah, that's gonna be the next journey, is figuring out testing. But then and then we'll work on the more interesting part, which is the actual thing that will use the generated bytes to act as our set, and then we're going to figure out how we can expose that as a library that can be imported into desktop and Android and iOS. And I'm hoping we can do that by episode 400, unless someone has a better idea for what we could cover in 400. All right. Well, hey, thanks again for watching episode 398 of The Joy of Coding. Let me know what you thought. There's a forum here to rate this episode. I'm going to drop the link to rate this episode into the chat. I apologize if you're watching this live. When I drop this in, from what I can tell, there's a little bit of a delay with the bridge when I'm writing from Matrix. So I've just dropped it into the chat. And from what I could tell when I was testing the bridge earlier today, it takes like 2 or 3 minutes before the bridge bot picks it up. Although it looks like maybe it just went through. If it just went through, amazing. Maybe there was just some congestion or something. Long story short, let me know what you thought. There's a section in there. I read everything that comes into the Rate This Episode forum. There's also a section in there to ask questions if you have questions that you want me to try and answer on the stream. Or just let me know what you like about the stream that I could do more of, less of. If there's something, if you're not interested in this Rust business, if you think Rust is passé, I shouldn't be using it, who knows? Just let me know. I read everything that comes in. and I'll do my best to adjust the stream to your needs. And with that, we'll call it there. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next week for episode 399. Have yourselves a great week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.